Ladies and gentlemen, curiosity, you would agree, is such a characteristic which is actually a driving energy for a lot of things, for, say, innovation. So it helps us delve into the what if and what if nots and why nots as well. So trust me, the upcoming panel discussion, this will brew a lot of curiosity and, of course, a lot of insights as well, because the perspectives which our key leaders will be sharing that would majorly spread across the exciting convergence of the cutting edge technologies that are really transforming the landscape of our digital banking in India, in our incredible India. So what's the wait for? Allow me to first up welcome the one who would be donning the hat of a moderator. Please welcome Hardik Gandhi, the ED Data and Analytics from PwC, joining us first. Hardik, hi, and a very, very warm welcome. With all my stances, you know that I'm going to be a stickler to time, but I'm sure you'll make it very impactful and at the same time effective for us. Allow me to please welcome the seasoned panelist as well for this one. Please welcome Shetty, the head digital business and transformation from Axis Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, some ace round of applauses to welcome the ace Shetty on the stage. Thank you, Samir, for joining us. Can we also have Shekhar Lele, the business innovation head from HSBC? Shekhar, hi, and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Good to see you. Can we please have Vinod Kumar, the CIO from Fino Payments Bank? Let's also have a lovely round of applause to welcome Vinod. And Hardik, it's going to be you shouldering the responsibilities of extracting those insights. Over to you.
Hi everyone, I hope I'm audible. Good evening and welcome my fellow panelists. Looking forward to an engrossing discussion. So the topic for today is future is now. And as part of that, we're going to explore how emerging technologies can intersect with banking. We are seeing banking these days continuously adopt, continuously innovate. And the reasons for those are multifold. It's not just about emerging technologies like 5G, blockchain, IoT, Gen AI coming up, but it's also about how customer demands are changing very frequently. What kind of user experience each of the customer needs it. How financial inclusion and fraud preventions are becoming a topic of discussion in each boardroom. And with the digital adoption and the technology and consumer needs, even banking are adopting very greatly at a very fast pace as well. And to support all of this, government themselves has spent a lot of time and energy into setting up of the digital ecosystem. Like we would have heard about ONDC, India Stack, digitization of PACs, just to name a few. RBI has equally contributed on the digital adoption journey for the banks, setting up of CBDCs and fintech innovation labs, working with a lot of fintech partners to help them to innovate out. And a couple of them, if I have to pick up and start with, let's start with, say, 5G and IoT. Now, in 5G and IoT, we are seeing a lot of change in terms of response to the service delivery, the way customer is able to get a lot of requests managed very quickly, whether it's related to authentication or whether it's related to address, getting up of any kinds of loans relating to banking anytime, anywhere. So I would like to bring Samir here, take his view in terms of how industry is moving towards adoption of 5G and IoT. Where is access in its journey? Are there specific kind of use cases that have been identified? There are any benefits realization that has happened? And what would you, suggest would be the next set of evolution that would happen by leveraging these technologies?
Sure. Firstly, thanks for having me here. So you mentioned 5G and IoT. I'll kind of take one by one. So 5G, in my mind, is not it's not a technology in itself, right? It's something that will support whatever we are doing. So there are a bunch of, on the digital side, a bunch of applications which are intensive, resource intensive from a bandwidth and network perspective. So one great example is video KYC, right? Every time you onboard a customer, we need to do a video KYC of the customer. And there are today lots of challenges. Calls will drop and network is not great and so on and so forth. And so hopefully with 5G coming in, use cases like this become far more seamless and, better for customers. So that's where I would put 5G. We don't have any specific 5G related initiatives. We are focusing on kind of building digital capabilities, and 5G will obviously help. IoT is a very broad term. So in banking, typically when people speak of IoT, they talk of things like multi-factor authentication or using your or cardless transactions, right? Like you don't need a card, you can do it from your mobile or things of that nature. I think here in general banking is very advanced and it's getting even more. So some of the things we are working on as an example is, as an example, can we imagine a world where there is no plastic? There is no plastic card or debit card or credit card, right? And you can do transactions, card present, card not present, both through your mobile app. So that's something that we are working towards. On fraud management, like doing more intelligent multi-factor authentication. Multiple ways, but multi-factor authentication using data, and then doing it using what is broadly called IoT. I would say the more advanced kind of use cases of IoT, like you hear of these cases where supply chains are fully automated, and so now you know when to finance, where the good is, etc., etc. I think that at least I have not seen any meaningful work there, but maybe sometime in the future.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective, and I mean one of the point to pick up is cardless banking, and that could be the way of the future. While it says future is now, but yeah, I mean that could be the way of the future. Let me bring Shekhar your perspective into this. You have worked with a lot of fintech partners, innovation hubs. How banks and fintech partners are collaborating together. If a bank wants to start on their digital journey and wants to leverage on fintech ecosystem, I mean, how they should identify new use cases, what could be the timing of it, what could be the way in which they could scout the network, ample amount of network which is out there. But would be great if you could share your perspective into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Hardik, and hello, everyone. So the topic is emerging technologies, right? And I will just take an example of a very unrelated industry, fashion. Okay. Now, fashion is one industry which is very unpredictable. So trends come and go in the blink of eye, and things get outdated very quickly. I think technology is now replacing fashion in terms of change and unpredictability. What was wow and unique maybe 6 months back is becoming commodity. Let's take generative AI, right? Now everybody was talking about generative AI. Maybe in 2 years, generative AI will become a commodity. But at the same time, customers keep expecting a lot from banks. Okay, they keep asking us what more you are offering to a table. How can you create a wow experience for me? And that's where the bank and the fintech relationship is evolving. See, earlier, fintechs were more of a service provider or software developer for a bank. Okay, bank was at the back end, and fintech used to develop all those good and great user interfaces. But now banks and fintechs are collaborating not just as clients and vendors, but more as value-added partners. They are co-creating a lot of solutions together, which are not existing in the world. They are co-creating, imagining the future, how it will look like, in order to ensure that the customer gets the best experience. In terms of use cases, right, obviously there are huge number of use cases in retail bank, commercial bank, SME bank, etc. But one area which is fast emerging is the unglamorous, hidden behind the scenes customer service, customer support. While lots happening on the customer experience on the front end, but now customers are expecting how fast banks can service them without them actually asking for a service. And that's why banks and fintechs are collaborating a lot. A lot of new age technologies like data analytics, AI are getting deployed for providing the next gen wow experience for the end customers. So I think the behind the scenes customer service delivery is one big area which is emerging and where banks are really focusing on in order to differentiate themselves.
If I were to summarize is, I think customer is a king, not just at the time of onboarding, but
Yeah.
at the time of servicing as well.
Correct, absolutely. Servicing is really creating a lot of differentiation in the market. Otherwise, the market is a commodity, right? Everybody is offering more or less the same thing. But how you service the customer is going to be the future.
Just to pivot this a bit to a different area, and I mean post-COVID, we have seen a lot of innovations and a lot of adoption happening in this space is the entire video KYC bit. And the entire authentication, biometric authentication. We have seen the emergence of use case not just in banking but even outside banking. As simple as the likes of DG Yatra. I mean, that has simplified the life of a common man amazingly well. So, how do you see the future of biometrics authentication evolving within the banking industry? And what kind of advantages it could bring in with respect to fraud prevention and security, identity theft, and everything. So, Vinod, would be great if you could share your view onto this.
Thank you, Hardik, for this question. So I'm sure that everybody is aware of the way we are actually using the biometrics solutions today. So, no, taking from Shekhar and Samir, we spoke about the banking and how the banking is getting accessed. But at the same time, the entire customer segment, they are actually more concerned about their security, how fast actually they can access the system. So the security becomes the major concern. And how much secure you are, how much security a bank can offer to the customer, that actually defines the customer, where the customer wants to operate their banking account. So if you look at the entire data systems, actually, there are a lot of personal data a bank or maybe a fintech is actually getting captured from the customers. That needs to be stored. And we need to ensure that, okay, the entire data is actually secured there. What a biometric system does is, primarily if you look at the major application is that one, authenticate, or first it actually verifies the customer. Once the verification is completed, then they are authenticating that customer to do or execute the activity which they want to do. So that is what actually primarily doing. So now we look at the mode of biometrics today. We are using the fingerprints, we are using the face recognition system, we are using voice metrics, voice biometrics, and a combination of this also where the complexity or the risk is actually high. So that is where the entire biometric system is actually moving. So it's also moving from simple authentication to the behavioral pattern of the users, because we know that a lot of frauds are happening on the fingerprint. It happened. A lot of frauds have been identified, and the cyber police captured them. So now we are actually moving simple fingerprint authentication or face recognition to behavioral pattern also be identified, and then actually the authorization is actually conducted. So Fino Payments Bank actually one of the front runners for doing all this, implementing biometrics while authenticating and acquiring their customers. So what you have seen that, from a operation perspective, we operate about 15% in urban, and almost 85% we are operating in the rural areas of India. There the customers, earlier they used to go to their merchants or the some of the extended branches there. Then they used to authenticate. A lot of frauds used to be happening there. Then the customers were not there, or they are not there if the user ID password or maybe the card number is there, card number PIN is there, then a lot of frauds used to be happening. From there, when the biometric came, the AEPS systems came, the customers got the confidence that until unless I am not present there, my transaction will not happen. So that actually increased the confidence on each and every customer. They used to do their transaction with their own presence. They go to the system, putting their own fingerprint to do the authorization. That made the life changing. So if you look at all these, the scenarios are changing. The people are accepted that the biometrics-based systems are more secured, and that is actually giving the confidence to customers who are coming back to the system. However, saying all these things, the fraudsters are there. they are also working on the system. So, lot of mechanism actually they adopt to, create the fraudulent scenario. The spoofing is there, or deepfakes are there. On ethical, ethical way of actually stealing the identity is also there. So while they are also growing, the systems are also building to, ensure that all those are the customer interest is been protected, and the banking is actually very secured and giving the confidence to customers.
I think the life wouldn't be far where, a person through biometric authentication and through, likes of usage of 5G can just enter, go to a retail outlet, the entire profiling happens out there, and, even the payments gets, transaction happens, without usage of any cards or anything. I mean, it's just about, some of the models that are already in place in countries outside India, where anything through facial recognition and with the other technologies combined, truly becoming like a banking anywhere kind of a scenario emerging. Samir, I would like to take your view on this. While we talked a lot about 5G, IoTs, biometrics, and all, RBI has been very successful with the entire CBDC launch. It has been a successful pilot, and now there is a plan to roll it out across the industry. A lot of focus through CBDC has been also put in terms of how it could enable financial inclusion. And the second part of it, the underlying technologies, which we hear a lot about blockchain, which we have tried as a pilot here and there with respect to cross-border payments, settlements, without any intermediaries. So again, my question would be is twofold. One, on specifically on CBDC and how it could help with financial inclusion. And secondly, blockchain as a overall, apart from CBDC, are there could be industry-specific larger use cases where it could basically have a larger impact on productivity as well as curtailing frauds through auto reconciliations and settlements.
Sure, thanks. So first on CBDC, CBDC is still a pilot. I think there is a long way for CBDC to go before you can call it a success. The technology has, and by the way, the pilot that the RBI did was to test technology, test that it works, and so on and so forth, right? So, so the way to think about CBDC is that it's digital rupee, it's cash. So it is, I mean, very technically speaking, it's not a bank liability, it's a central bank liability. So it's like cash in your wallet, and it's a digital form of that. Now, what that CBDC will be used for is, I think, undiscovered at this point in time. There are 2-3 use cases that we are excited about. So the first one is programmability, which is because CBDC is electronic and digital, you can program it. As an example, you can say that if I were the government, then I want to give a gas subsidy, and now the recipient can use that money only to buy gas, right? So they can't go to a restaurant and have dinner. So you can program that into the currency. So that programmability is something which is a incremental function, and that we are quite excited about. There is some, actually, we've already launched what we call offline CBDC, which is you don't need to be in network to do a transaction. The token exchange can happen in a offline mode. Can help inclusion quite significantly because people may not have internet when they are doing the transactions, etc. And then there are use cases which are kind of not even launched yet, but in remittances or just tokenization of assets. One very interesting use case is can we tokenize assets, and can CBDC becomes the platform on which it trades. But these are, I would say, in the future. India is the first country to do CBDC pilot at this scale, and touchwood, this pilot has worked well. But I think there have to be real use cases around CBDC for it to be successful. On Blockchain, look, I think every technology goes through this hype cycle, right? Like internet went through its hype cycle in the 2000s. And then there was a massive crash. And then for 10 years, nobody spoke about the internet. And suddenly you had Amazon and Facebook emerge out of nowhere. Uh, I think blockchain is kind of, I guess, somewhere there. Blockchain hype cycle, I think, happened maybe a year and a half back with all the Bitcoin and all the other coins. Uh, uh, it is, I think, something. I mean, the technology holds a lot of promise, but there are many questions around whether that technology can deliver or not. There are use cases. There is there is IBIC in India, and RBIH has tried some use cases and so on and so forth. So banks are on it. Like we've done some trade, LC issuance, and so on and so forth. But all very kind of, I would not even say pilot. I would say POC is where blockchain is. But hopefully, as with any technology, the hype cycle is over. Now the real work starts, and in a few years, we should see some solid outcomes.
Right. And I think this cycle actually happens, differently for different technologies. I mean, for Gen AI, it has been, the pace is like an year.
I
But
think
for blockchain,
Gen AI is at the peak of the hype cycle, right?
Yeah.
Like if I were to bet 1 year down the line, there'll be less excitement around Gen AI than there is today.
Right. And I mean, rightly put, every technology goes through, each of its maturity cycle. Some may take time, some may happen pretty quickly. But the impact in terms of the specific use cases are still going to be there. It may happen in a specific areas like very settlement related ones where you need a complete trust out, and you don't you want to rely on technology rather than people sitting out there or an intermediary sitting out there. But it could go through a different maturity cycle. Coming to and again, Shekhar, again, picking up on the point which Samir already mentioned, a lot of adoption of these technologies within the banking ecosystem also needs to have a journey, because many organizations are carrying their legacy issues. It's not straightforward to API everything and create a larger ecosystem for digitization. So how do you see in terms of, for any organization which are having legacy issues and wants to rely on, fintech ecosystem for accelerating or, incubating this technology in-house, what kind of challenges that you foresee and what would be your recommendation, for those organizations?
Yeah. See, managing the legacy systems is a journey, right? And every bank in this world is grappling with different sets of challenges and opportunities. Some banks are trying to replace the entire legacy setup and trying to re-engineer the code and create an entirely new tech stack. Some of them are trying to move their legacy applications onto cloud and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a journey which every company is undertaking. The more important point which you mentioned is about how to work with fintechs when you have your own legacy systems. Okay. The important point is how you can communicate with the external world. You may have your own set of problems, issues set up back at home, but important is how you communicate with each other. And again, I'll take a very simple example just to try to de-jargonize it. See, there are more than 100 people in this room, right? All of us speak different languages, and we may or may not understand each other's languages. But still we're able to communicate with each other. How? Because we have decided to communicate in a common language, which is English. And we have own sets of rules and protocols which all of us agree and we're able to communicate. I think very similar in the banking and fintech world, right? Every system, every bank has its own set of process, protocols, etc. But the day will come when everybody is able to communicate using common protocols and common processes and rules. Till date, bank and fintech partnership used to be done using proprietary technologies, one-on-one integrations and all. But obviously, they were costly to develop, costly to maintain and test, etc. But what we are going forward is a trend where we have standardization in B2B enterprise connectivity. Already we are seeing a lot of progress being made in ONDC, UPI, the UHC, and so on and so forth. But for multiple use cases, the scenario will be like banks and fintechs will expose their capabilities to this common enterprise middleware or ecosystem. The end customer will able to connect and create their own set of applications on do-it-yourself basis. And for processing the transactions, banks will then able to convert whatever is coming from the enterprise into their own set of rules and processes for processing internally. The important point is, despite these differences, despite legacy issues, system, etc., from the end customer perspective, it should be a seamless journey. I think that should be the end outcome and the end goal which all of us should strive for. Yeah? The end customer should be oblivious of all the underlying maze which exists between the bank and fintech and the ecosystem. So yeah, they will surely come when all of us are able to communicate in a standardized way, using simple protocols.
Yeah, and a great point that you brought up. I mean, ONDC has actually standardized the way in which many of these partners can come together on a single standard taxonomy in which the operating model should work out. And hopefully, we should see a lot of B2C and transactions and B2B transactions moving seamlessly across some of these common platforms. And while we talk a lot about digital ecosystem, digital banking, innovations, keeping customer at forefront, one of the things that any bank which keeps them awake day and night is cyber frauds. And some of these, cyber frauds are, it's easier said than done in terms of, just having a standard mechanism. But every issue needs to be handled to the most sensitive way. It needs to be planned better. So, Vinod, considering the amount of transactions, Fino payments processes, how, as an organization, you are managing, our protection around data leakages, identity theft, and what would be your recommendation to industry where you are seeing things work very well in terms of having a good cyber strategy and cyber ecosystem?
No, as you said, all the banks are actually become a partner for most of the fintechs. Fintechs need a bank in most of the cases. So, one of the reasons for actually having a lot of cyber incidents is actually the number of entry points which any bank is actually opening. One bank has got its own operations. The same time, they are opening a lot of APIs and other mechanism for all the fintechs and other organizations to open. So the number of opening, the number of areas where the entry points are increasing, the possibility for increasing the vulnerability is very high. And how these are actually getting controlled? One, all the organizations, especially on the banks, they have their own information security policies. Same time, the regulators actually put a stringent cyber security mechanism for all the banks to adhere with. All the combined these two actually, lot of security aspects are being adhered with. The security has been controlled. However, there are reasons for why the cyber security is again getting impacted. If you look at one of the points is actually the diverse entry points. Second, the way we are actually building the solution, the faster the solution, faster we want to roll out. The competition itself is a reason for as a reason the industry. Third, the lack of the preparedness. Before actually we are actually rolling out any of the solution or any of the integration that we are doing with the third party, how much preparedness we have done at internally, or we are actually pushing the system to make it live and the revenue getting generated. So those are the main three areas where internally the cyber security leaks that can happen. One of the most focused actually regulators done, and I'm sure that all the banks or all the fintechs are doing the awareness program. So everybody is actually trying their level best to make the users aware how they are secured and what all preparedness they need to do while they are actually doing banking. And same actually goes with the partners also, because whenever we are opening any entry point to the partners, we are ensuring that the kind of standards are adhered so that we are not getting impacted much of the cybersecurity. But end of the day, it's a rat and mouse game. Both the fraudsters and bank is actually running behind securing, other one is actually trying to breach the security.
Yeah, thank you, Vinod. Unluckily, we don't have much time, so I'll just quickly conclude. And again, thanking you, all the panel members. Very interesting thoughts, all of them that came in terms of different technology maturity journey. A lot of use case that got identified, which would have a larger impact on banks, both top line as well as bottom line. While there is each of the bank is going through their journey and either leveraging the fintech ecosystem or incubating the technology, as an ecosystem, everyone wants to use emerging technologies. And I think while it's going to directly impact banks' top line and bottom line, we see as an industry as a whole and as a larger country's agenda in terms of moving towards $5 trillion and $10 trillion economy, the technologies and the banking industry the technologies within this banking industry are going to play a pivotal role. So thank you, everyone, and thanks again, panel members.
We request you all to please wait for a group photograph here as well. Thank you very, very much, panel, for decoding the tech intersection for us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all come together. Like, that's a superpower, to be in things together. Let's have a round of applause, please, for our panel members who did, like I said, decoded things for us.